how did we go from some of the best visuals of all time to what now is the modern equivalent of mud? It's incredible how far technology has come. Right now, we are kind of at the peak of camera technology. You have cameras like the Arri Alexa 265 or the Red V-Raptor XL or the Sony Venice 2 or the Ursa Cine 17K65. We have cameras that are better, more powerful, more dynamic range, more frames per second, more resolution than ever before. And yet, modern movies and TV shows look kind of dim and murky and washed out and blurry and bleak, as if the images themselves don't represent the technology behind the scenes. Even the holy grail of filmmaking, 70mm IMAX, shares a lot of these same characteristics where things just don't look as good as you think they ought to. And I think this comes down to what cinematic even means, because between 2000 to 2010, this was kind of peak cinema in all regards. From the actors to the costumes and set design to the directors and the cameras, the cinematic aesthetic was out in full force. You could go to the movies and pretty much anything you would watch looked incredible, with a range of contrast, rich and colorful scenes, lots of shape and texture across the entire image. But then something happened around 2011 to 2015. There was a shift and a change in the way things looked and felt on screen. Movies like Skyfall and Gone Girl and The Revenant embracing a different aesthetic altogether. Now to the point where cinematic means dark and shallow, or just teal and gray, or drab and dreary. These are not words I would traditionally associate with cinematic, and yet they've become the new cinematic standard. So what in the world happened? How did we go from some of the best visuals of all time to what now is the modern equivalent of mud? Well, let's first take a look at the Kino Flow, because I think this is part of the puzzle. You see, the Kino Flow is incredible technology that really changed the entire language of visual storytelling. The Kino Flow are fluorescent light fixtures. They're cool and soft and low power, but they're small and fragile, and they're weak in terms of their intensity that they put out. They're actually developed in 1987 by a grip and a gaffer on the movie production for Barfly. Of course, that was just the origin. The company rose to prominence after that through the 90s, and then into the 2000s, right through 2015 really, was kind of the peak of Kino Flow, where they were just everywhere on every set, whether it was movies or televisions or corporate commercial work. Kino Flows were everywhere. And at first they were used as supplemental lighting, ways to fill in the shadows, to add a touch of softness here or there, in addition to all of the other lights on set. But something changed in 2008, because that's when we had the DSLR revolution. But it wasn't just DSLRs, it was a sensor revolution. You had cameras like the Canon 5D Mark II, which was released in 2008, but you also had cameras like the Arri Alexa, which came out in 2010, and the Red Epic, which came out in November of 2010. These cameras had sensors that were far more sensitive to light, meaning you didn't need as much light, and with the light that you got, the sensors were much cleaner than what we had ever had before. And you can see how this kind of adds up. Film stock, needs a lot of light. It needs that intensity to expose properly without too much grain. And it's kind of hard to get a powerful, soft light. The moment you start diffusing lights, the intensity drops dramatically. So traditionally in cinema, lights were big and bright and hard and hot. But with these digital sensors, they were much cleaner, a lot more sensitive to the light. You could actually use those softer lights because they were powerful enough to expose properly without all the noise and grain, leading to an environment where you could light an entire scene with soft Kino Flow lights, and you didn't need any of the bright, powerful, hot tungsten or HMI lights of the past. Alongside the technology changing, you had movies changing as well. Things like The Dark Knight, which came out in 2008 and blew up the box office. This movie was everywhere at the time. Everyone talked about it. People couldn't stop talking about it for years after it came out. It was one of those monumental shifts in cinema, a movie so big that it basically takes over the entire industry. And if you look at The Dark Knight, it's actually kind of bright by today's standards, but at the time was viewed as quite dark, both in tone and visuals. And it was an absolute blockbuster success, setting kind of a landmark of what was possible in cinema. It was darker, it was moodier, it was more bleak, but that serious tone became associated with prestige basically overnight. Except what works for Batman doesn't always work for everything else. As much as people would like it to apply, you can't just take the same recipe and apply it to every single other production. And this is often the case with Hollywood. They'll learn the wrong lesson and they'll try and make everything dark and moody and gritty just because The Dark Knight was. And yet I can't just blame Hollywood, because artists themselves want to be taken seriously. And so when The Dark Knight is the biggest movie of all time in this era, everyone wants to emulate it. They all want to be seen as serious professionals.
Why so serious?
And this led to a new visual language where serious is cinematic, kind of shifting the mindset in all regards of production, from the writing, the acting, the hair and makeup, the sets, the cinematography. The tone of all of it changed, with storylines and characters that were darker and more grounded, more real. And the world these characters lived in, the world of sets and costumes, hair and makeup, it all became a lot more serious and real as well. A lot less vibrant, more simple, more plain, because that's more believable. At the same time, lighting and color is following the same pattern. It's getting softer and darker, more muted, more lifelike, more realistic. And then the advancement from fluorescent to LED accelerated this trend even further. These LED lights were more durable, but they could also be bigger and brighter, meaning you could modify them, you could diffuse them. Big, soft, beautiful lights. Things like the Aries Sky Panel, which came out in 2015, or the Aperture series of LED lights, the 120D, the 300D, the 600D. These were all incredibly popular and really changed how everything was lit.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Except it's not. This is measurable. It's quantifiable. Let's look at IRE, which stands for the Institute of Radio Engineers. This is a standard that's used in video production to measure the relative brightness of a video signal. The scale runs from 0 to 100, 0 being pure black, 100 being pure white. And this helps filmmakers and creators adjust their exposure using waveforms and false color tools. You can dial in your exposure, know that everything is properly exposed. Well, if you look at the general trend of IRE over the years, before 2010s, skin tone, generally the IRE was anywhere between 55 to 65, kind of brighter in terms of midtones. But then from 2010 through 2020, you have a reduction in that IRE of those skin tones, ranging anywhere on average between 45 to 60. Even to today, you have even lower exposures on skin tones, things as low as 35 to 50 on the IRE scale. So it's not just your imagination, things are getting darker. And you can see this, if you look at movies side by side, there's a clear difference between things in the past being a little brighter versus things now being a lot darker.
Why would they change math? Math is math.
Okay,
Math
Dad.
is math.
And this leads to what I call movie malaise. The lighting, the color grading, the set design, the wardrobe, the characters, the plots, they're all suffocating in the drab, dreary world that we've built for them. Everything's soft and flat and dull and boring because that's real. We want to emphasize realism, except realism is the opposite of cinematic. And ironically, making things darker is the absolute worst for video compression, which is what almost everyone is watching these days. If you're watching streaming, you're watching compressed video, meaning those murky shadows and the details you can't quite make out. Well, yeah, because you're watching things that are underexposed, compressed, streamed to your television, and it just looks like visual mud. Are we headed for some kind of rebound? Maybe 2030 we'll see a shift? Well, the current signals give me some hope, but not a lot. We have movies like Backrooms, Obsession, The Odyssey and Spider-Man Brand New Day all have done quite well this year, except 2 of them are straight up horror movies, meaning they're generally gonna be darker anyway. The Odyssey is quite drab and dreary because that seems to be Christopher Nolan's style, and Spider-Man still has that kind of flat and soft look, especially compared to the Spider-Man films of the past.
You know how much I sacrificed?
So in general, the trend seems to be continuing, especially for these huge blockbusters that are making all the money. That's what people are going to look at, that's what they're going to follow, that's what they're going to try and replicate, because if it was successful once before, well, it'll probably be successful again. So expect future movies to just follow the patterns of these movies because it's what's successful right now. For me though, cinematic should mean visually delightful, stunning, breathtaking, the eye candy that you want to look at. Now, it isn't one style, it's not one approach to lighting or cinematography or any aspect of film production, but I think we can all agree something has been missing, especially when you compare modern visuals to the visuals of the past. Look at anything between 2000 to 2010. I mean, the worst we got during that time was probably Transformers, and that's a visual feast. There is so much spectacle going on in Transformers that you can't hardly even process all of it. So I'm optimistic for a future where some of the more traditional approaches to lighting and color grading come back into favor, where we get more color in cinema, where we get maybe brighter exposures, even on productions that are supposed to be serious and cinematic. Because I think there's something aesthetically pleasing about looking at a movie and enjoying what you're looking at. In fact, HBO actually made this change for the new Harry Potter series coming out this year. They brightened the exposure on their color grade, and I know there's some folks out there who are going to disagree with that, but I kind of quite like that mentality. Let's make something that's nice to look at, that's beautiful and enjoyable, because I think that makes the entertainment factor all that much stronger. But of course, there's always room for the bland and the bleak, the drab and the miserable. That's fine too, if it fits the story. It just seems like we're getting an awful lot of it these days. I think cinematic can mean whatever you want it to mean, and everyone has their own style and preference. But for me, it's always going to come back to, do I want to look at it? Do I like how it looks? And there are some strong signals that can guarantee that type of look and feel. One of them that's been completely lost over the years is just having a nice edge light. For whatever reason, it's not in favor anymore to have a strong edge. I think that's one little thing we could bring back to give us a little bit more of that cinematic look and feel.